So here's what happened. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry thought they were pulling off the ultimate feel-good family moment, a sweet birthday trip to Disneyland for their daughter Lilibet. You'd think it'd be simple. Wear some casual clothes, bring the kids along, grab some overpriced ice cream, maybe take a ride on It's a Small World and head home. But no, that's not how the Sussexes roll anymore. What was meant to be a low-key celebration somehow turned into a viral PR tornado, and it all unraveled fast. Now picture this. It's a sunny California afternoon, the kind where everyone's out with their kids, soaking up the vibes. In walks Harry and Meghan, with Archie and little Lilibet smack in the middle of Disneyland. Not the private entrance, not behind the scenes, not even with a tour guide. They walk straight into one of the most crowded tourist traps on Earth, where literally every third person has a camera in their hand. It was like watching someone shout, "No pictures, please," while standing on a red carpet. And as expected, within hours, the photos were everywhere. But it wasn't just the pictures, it was the way they were framed. Blurry paparazzi angles that looked just a little too perfect, like someone wanted them to look like they weren't staged while making sure the angles were clean, the lighting was flattering, and the outfits were PR safe. And then there were the kids. Faces blurred again, and that's where the internet lost it. Because if you're gonna claim you want privacy for your kids, why walk them through the flashbulb center of the country, and why make the photos public at all? People have seen this pattern before. Every time something flops, Meghan's podcast, Harry's Netflix numbers, a brand launch that fizzles, suddenly there's a family photo op. Carefully timed, expertly captured, always with just enough mystery to keep the internet buzzing. And this time, it didn't hit the way it was supposed to. This time, the reaction was straight up brutal. Even Piers Morgan, who barely needs a reason to go off on Harry and Meghan, jumped into the mix. Without even naming them directly, he posted a scathing takedown of celebrities who use their kids for clout, only to blur their faces like they're redacted CIA documents. "We see you," he wrote. And man, did the internet agree. Comments lit up on Reddit, X, Instagram, everywhere. The general vibe? If you really want privacy, maybe don't parade your kids through the most photographed place in America. But here's where it really gets spicy. Insiders at Disneyland started whispering that parts of the park were weirdly packed with photographers that day, like suspiciously packed. Some even claimed it looked like a full-blown media setup. And that's when people stopped seeing it as a cute outing and started calling it what it looked like, a staged photo drop, one that reeked of damage control more than birthday magic. Because let's be real, Meghan's brand, American Riviera, isn't exactly crushing it. The podcast archetypes quietly faded into the background, and that carefully polished influencer-style soft launch she attempted barely made a ripple. So what better way to recapture attention than an adorable family day with royal kids? Except this time, it backfired hard. People didn't feel charmed, they felt manipulated. And while the public dragged them online, the real tension was reportedly building behind palace walls. The timing of the Disneyland stunt, just days before a major royal event back in the UK, rubbed the monarchy the wrong way. Some saw it as a blatant distraction play, an attention grab that deliberately stepped on royal toes. And that, according to insiders, hit a nerve deep within the firm. King Charles wasn't amused. In fact, according to royal insiders, he was livid. What might have seemed like a minor photo op in California looked, from across the pond, like another calculated PR move. Timed just perfectly to distract from Trooping the Color, a major celebration honoring the king himself. And the fact that the Sussexes used Lilibet's name, one so deeply tied to Queen Elizabeth's legacy, for what some are calling a publicity play, that's where the emotional weight came crashing down. See, the name Lilibet isn't just a cute nickname. It was the Queen's personal moniker within the family. Something intimate, something sacred. When Harry and Meghan announced the name publicly without getting official permission, Buckingham Palace had to clarify the record. And now, using that same name in a staged Disneyland outing that ends up splattered across tabloids, it struck a nerve. Aides say the king felt the moment was turned into a headline, not a tribute. One courtier described his mood as a mix of sadness and quiet fury, not because of the media circus, that's almost expected by now, but because of how carelessly the Queen's memory was being dragged into it. But that's just one layer. The other? Legal. Reports from UK media suggest Meghan and Harry are now considering legal action against Piers Morgan for what they call veiled harassment. The irony? Meghan's legal team has already tried and failed to silence Morgan once before, after he refused to back down from critiquing her Oprah interview. This fallout led to his exit from Good Morning Britain, but also supercharged his platform. He's bigger than ever now. And he's not letting up. In his latest string of posts and commentary, Morgan tears into the hypocrisy of how the couple sues media outlets over privacy, only to orchestrate events like the Disneyland circus. And he's not alone in his criticism. Social media didn't hold back either. Some longtime supporters of the Sussexes admitted the photo drop felt off. Too curated, too convenient. One viral post summed it up: every time something flops, the kids come out. That kind of public sentiment doesn't disappear quietly. It snowballs. People started piecing together a pattern. Podcasts falter, brands underperform, Netflix shows struggle. Then suddenly, there's a sweet family moment, perfectly lit and emotionally loaded, ready for media pickup. And it's always just enough to create buzz but blur the lines of authenticity. Even entertainment outlets like TMZ and Daily Mail, which usually lap up this kind of drama, seemed skeptical. Headlines weren't gushing, they were biting. Strategic outing, one questioned. Another labeled it parenting as performance. The backlash wasn't just from haters. It came from fence-sitters, former fans, and royal observers who once saw Harry and Meghan as the couple escaping a rigid monarchy in search of peace. But peace doesn't require a photographer. And then there's Prince William. Sources close to him say he's done watching from the sidelines. What used to be quiet frustration has turned into a full-blown urge to act. He's reportedly leading private talks about stripping Harry and Meghan of their remaining titles, something the palace has long resisted out of fear it would fuel more headlines. But the mood is shifting. This time, it's not just about a media blunder. It's about the reputation of the monarchy, the manipulation of a child's name, and the repeated use of family trauma for public gain. Behind closed doors, senior royals are said to be debating what line, if any, is left to cross, because if the royal name keeps getting used like a social media brand, the firm might finally draw one of its own. Inside palace walls, the tension has thickened into something colder: resolve. Senior advisors, once cautious and diplomatic, are reportedly aligning with Prince William's view that this circus has gone on long enough. It's not about pettiness or retaliation anymore. It's about containment, protecting the institution from being hijacked again and again by a couple who seem to treat royal titles like clickable branding tools. What was once an internal debate has turned into quiet action planning. Discussions of legal boundaries, media counter strategies, and even possible revisions to title privileges for the Sussex children are all reportedly on the table. The Queen's legacy has always been the crown's soft armor, steady, stoic, and untouched by tabloid frenzy. But now her nickname is caught in the middle of a messy modern PR game, and the idea of it being turned into a prop for emotional bait has crossed a line for many in the royal circle. One source put it bluntly: you can't invoke the Queen's name when it benefits your image and disregard the crown the rest of the time. The double standard has grown too loud to ignore. Public perception is also shifting in a way that's hard to reverse. When Harry and Meghan first stepped away from their duties, many sympathized. The idea of a younger royal couple carving out a peaceful, independent life outside the palace walls had a kind of fairy tale glow. But now, that narrative's worn thin. The interviews, the Netflix specials, the constant stream of grievances, it started to feel less like liberation and more like a business strategy, a repetitive one at that. The Disneyland outing was just the latest in a string of orchestrated moments that the public has started to view with skepticism rather than curiosity. One viral tweet put it like this: at this point, even their spontaneity feels pre-filmed, and the numbers back it up. Meghan's latest podcast venture under her brand American Riviera Orchard didn't just underperform, it barely made a dent. Despite professional promotion, celebrity guests, and a rollout built around her public rebrand, listeners just weren't showing up. Critics say the problem isn't production, it's perception. People don't trust the story anymore. And when the storytelling becomes predictable, the audience starts tuning out. That's the biggest threat facing Harry and Meghan now. Not just criticism, but indifference. The cycle of backlash, victimhood, and curated redemption arcs has played out too many times. There's a growing fatigue around the spectacle, and that fatigue is bleeding into media coverage. Outlets that once reported every Sussex headline with urgency are now giving it a side glance at best. Within the royal family, that shift in media energy is seen as both a blessing and a warning. Less attention means fewer PR fires to put out, but it also means that if another stunt comes along, there's little room left for grace. The royal institution thrives on restraint and reputation. When one of its former members keeps pushing against those values, the crown eventually has to push back, not with noise, but with decision. Prince William, according to those close to him, believes the long game is over. He no longer views the Sussex saga as a temporary distraction, but as an ongoing liability. The carefully worded statements, the hope that silence would restore order, it's done. What's next could be concrete. Removal of titles, quiet legal separation, institutional distancing that sends one clear message. This isn't a show, it's the monarchy. For Harry and Meghan, the question looming now isn't how they'll rebuild their brand, it's whether they'll have anything left to build it on.